Hello, PerfectIt users. Last week on my YouTube channel, I showed you how to import a style sheet from an Excel template that I created, which makes creating a PerfectIt style sheet a lot quicker. This week, I'm showing you how to export a style sheet. Now, I'm not referring to the PFT file that you can export from directly within the program. I'm referring to a format. It's a TXT file that you can actually read, you can share with people, you can copy paste into the import tool. More on that later. Let's get the script running, and then while it's running, I can tell you about some of the other things that we can do with it. So let me show you my desktop. Before you set it running, you need to click on Manage Styles. It's quite important to go to Manage Styles, not Edit Current Style. If you use Edit Current Style, it won't run all the way from start to finish without asking you to intervene. So run it from Manage Styles, select the style that you want to export here, and then set the script going. There's a few things we have to tell the script before it starts going. First, we have to say whether we're extracting all the tabs or just one of them. So in this case, we're going to extract all of them, and at the bottom of this box, you see it says to extract all tabs, enter 0. So I'm going to do that, 0. And then the next thing we have to say where we're going to save it. So we give it a name, and then we click on Save. And then the very last thing we have to do, it tells us we have to click on this black arrow here. The script needs to know where the first row is on our screen. So we click on there, and it asks us to confirm that the entire row is highlighted in blue. So we say yes, and that's it. Now it will start going. We don't need to do anything else. Just a word of warning, you'll see a few pop-up messages that have an error. This is due to a bug in PerfectIt, but don't worry, my script, you see we just had it there. My script closes the error all by itself, reopens PerfectIt, and starts going again. It does this when it reaches similar words, and it does this also when it reaches capitalization of phrases, but it skips straight past them. It closes the error message and it reopens PerfectIt, but all the information is exported. Okay, so while that's running, let's talk about what we can do with it. Let's change the screen size so you can see me a bit bigger. So what can we do with this? Well, we can share the style sheet with somebody who doesn't have PerfectIt, and that means they'll be able to see all the information, just like what we see in the style sheet editor. They'll be able to see that information on their screen. The other thing we can do, because it's a TXT format, we can open it up ourselves in Notepad or in Notepad++ or in Microsoft Word or in WordPad or whatever, and we can search. We can search for a certain word, we can search for a certain instruction, and then we can find it. And you can search in multiple style sheets at the same time if you're using desktop search or something like Notepad++ that will let you search in multiple folders. So that's another advantage. And then because of the way it's formatted, we can then sort our data. So for example, you'll see on my instructions, I had on the Always Find tab, I had these labels. Most of them were WMO, but a couple of them were TB. So the TB ones are not actually in the WMO style sheet, but I know that they're things that I want to apply. If I wanted to, I could, when I've got the export, I can sort them by the instruction, and then I will have these TB entries together, and then I can put them into the import template and import them into another style sheet. Or I could move just the checks that are phrases to consider avoid, for instance. I might want to use them in other style sheets. So from the export, I could just copy paste them into the import template and then import them into another style sheet. So it's really, really flexible. You'll see that when this script is over, we'll have a look at the finished product. and you'll be able to see. I'll give an example of what we can do with that. So where are we up to? We're on the settings tab at the moment, and it's just about to reach the end, and it's going to reach the prefixes. So when it reaches the prefixes, just so the video is not so long, I'm going to pause it and restart the video when it's near the end of this list. Okay, so we're near the end of the prefixes, and next it goes on to italics. And by the way, these three tabs, prefixes, italics, and superscript, one annoyance with these tabs is that you can't actually delete any entries. You can add them. So if you ever add something by mistake, what you need to do is set it to do not check. You can't delete it, but you can set it to do not check. So that's what you need to do if you add something by mistake. Let's let the italics run through to the end. Not too many left. So many of these are already built into PerfectIt, but some of them are ones I've added that the WMO require to be in italics or not in italics. So we're nearly at the end of that list now. And then we'll get on to superscript and subscript. And what I'll do there, I'll just pause until we're near the end of the list. So let me pause the video and then restart it. So it was 2045 on my screen when I started this tab, and it's just turned 2046. So it really didn't take, I wasn't pausing the video for very long. This really doesn't take a long time. When I was testing this particular style sheet, it took about 10 minutes to run through the whole thing. This video will probably be a slight bit longer because I've paused it when I'm pausing and restarting the video. So now we're doing the wildcards. And this is going to be a big thing in my masterclass. I'm going to talk a lot about wildcards. You'll see some quite complex ones in there. And when I share with you also the United Nations sheet, you'll see some really complex wildcards in there, but they're really powerful. They can detect all sorts of misspellings and different ways that names of institutions are written incorrectly. So make sure you make it to my masterclass. Hashtag PerfectIt Masterclass. That's how you can find out any information. Just search for that on Twitter. Hashtag Masterclass, hashtag PerfectIt Masterclass. Search for that on Twitter. You'll get lots of information about what I'll be sharing during that masterclass. And as soon as the dates are announced, I will use that hashtag when I announce the dates. What we're doing now, after wildcards, it skips past fine-tuning and sections to skip, and it goes straight to the checks to include tab. So that's what it exports next. It does this because it's the same type of list as the other one, so it just makes it a bit easier with the export to do it in that order. But it will go back to fine-tuning when it reaches the end of the list. So now it's gone to fine-tuning. It's exporting this information. And on this tab, you'll start seeing the mouse doing some things here. That's because it has to read the checkboxes. And the position of the checkbox changes from one computer to another and from one screen to another. So it has to move slowly, and it looks pixel by pixel, looking for the checkbox. It doesn't matter if you move the mouse while it's doing this, okay? It's purely, the actual mouse movement is purely cosmetic. It's reading on the screen. It's just to show me which part of the screen is being read at any time. So it doesn't matter if you're moving the mouse around, it's not a problem. Now it's doing the section to skip. So again, it has to find the position, it just has to find the position of the checkboxes on the left and the same on the right. And once it's identified those, it's then much quicker at reading the checkboxes. So you'll see now it's quite quick at reading them. So it just has to check all these boxes, And then when it's done, it will take the styles to skip one down here. Okay, it keeps moving my mouse when I try to move it, but it will do that at the end, the styles to skip. And once it's done that, it's just about done. There we are, export complete. It asks us if we want to export, if we want to open the exported file. So let's do that and see what it looks like. It gives us this little warning if we're opening it in Notepad. It says that we should have word wrap switched off. That's so that we just have one entry per line. You see, I've got word wrap on at the moment, and these instructions, some of these instructions appear to be at the start of a line. If we take off word wrap, then it all becomes much clearer. We always see the name of the check on the left-hand side, and the instructions are over on the right-hand side. There are no line breaks. If I do full screen, you can see everything in there, and it's all very neat, and we can see things very easily. Here we've got the checks at the bottom. We see it's detected which checkboxes were selected. And here are the things from fine-tuning. The names of the sheets are between asterisks, though I see, apologies, I see I forgot with fine-tuning to add those asterisks and with sections to skip. I promise you I'll fix that before the masterclass. So what can we do with this? Well, let's say I wanted to share the phrases to avoid consider. I might have a very nice list of maybe certain words that are not politically correct that we try to avoid. There are many things we could have in here. Well, what if I wanted to import these onto another style sheet? Well, I would go to an empty template. Let's look at a template. This one's not empty actually, but we could go to an empty one, in which case we would go to row 2. I'm going to go here below the entries I've got already. And we copy this to the clipboard, and then we go in here and we paste to the clipboard. And notice how everything is tabulated in the notepad. The reason you see these long gaps here is to ensure that everything gets pasted into the correct columns. So, so everything's gone in the right columns. And you saw last week how we can import from here into a style sheet. So let's imagine I put this in an empty template. We could then import it in. On import settings, we could say that we only want to import always find. And then those would be imported in. What else could we import? Let's take a look actually at one thing that maybe looks a bit different. And that is on fine-tuning. You see, normally, I'm seeing an example from when I was testing earlier. So let me change this back to million. Okay, so normally for skip numbers followed by, for instance, or all these checks where we've got a list of words, we fill in the words down here on the template. And then the template has a formula that then amalgamates all the items into this list into the format we need to import into PerfectIt. And what format is that? It's each word separated by a vertical line or a pipe. But this will still work if we import from here. Let me go to the bottom and then find one of these lists. Okay, so we've got these skip numbers followed by. Happens to be the same list we've got already, but just by way of example, I could put this list in here. And just to prove that it's not the same list I already had, I'm just going to change million to zillion, and I'll change billion to quintillion, and I'll change trillion to, I don't know, 1,000. Okay, just so that you can see it's not the same list. So instead of pasting an individual item in here, I've pasted the whole list that has all the pipes already in there. And as you can see here, we have the correct format there. I should have just left off the pipe at the beginning there. There we go. Or maybe it's supposed to be there. Let's go back to PerfectIt and look at the beginning. Okay, yes, there is supposed to be a pipe at the beginning. let's go to, which one was I in? This one. So the pipe was actually supposed to be there. So let's put it back in. So we can paste that list into there, and it's still read correctly by the template and will be imported into another style sheet correctly. So I hope you found that useful. If you want to have access to these tools, make sure you attend my masterclass. It will be happening very soon. Just search in Twitter for hashtag PerfectIt Masterclass. Also check out the PerfectIt Masterclass playlist on YouTube. On there you'll also find the import template. So I hope you find that useful. If you have any questions, let me know.